You're watching the March edition of the Library Roadshow, everything you need to know about your local library system. As part of our One Book, One Community series featuring the book Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, we've planned a number of programs that run the gamut from Nollywood films to how to podcast to how to braid hair. But one of the more serious themes of the book explores race relations, which is such an important issue for us all in America today. Dr. Tina M. Harris is the first Manship Maynard Endowed Chair in Race, Media, and Cultural Literacy at the LSU Manship School of Mass Communication. She'll be presenting the program Fostering Racial Healing, One Relationship at a Time at the Main Library on Friday evening, March 13th. Okay, Dr. Harris, what's the deal? Why is it so difficult for us to discuss things like race here in America?
I think the biggest barrier or problem is that people oftentimes don't want to accept what race, well, they understand what race is, but the underlying issue is racism, and people have resistance to what it actually is. Oftentimes people will define racism as having a strong dislike or hate for someone who is of a different race, but it's a much deeper issue than that. It is centered around societal power. So in order for a person to be racist, they have to have societal power, and you couple that with racial prejudice. So racial prejudice plus societal power equals racism. And that means that people who are in the majority group are the ones who have the power, and if that person or a person who's a member of that group has racial prejudice, then they are a racist. And when people hear that, and as this also occurs when I'm teaching, I tell my students this is what the definition is. There's history to back it up. They're a little bit hesitant. They're just like, so what does that mean? And I, walk them down this this road where they are challenged to, recognize that the majority group in the U.S. is white people, and they're the ones with the societal power. And this system of racism is perpetuated by those who embrace their racial prejudice, and it can even be very subtle or innocent, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that's how systemic racism is perpetuated, by denying opportunities to other people, and this can include women as well. When you have racism and sexism, denying opportunities and maintaining power within those individuals who already have the existing power.
And then we have things like institutionalized poverty, like
yes,
you said,
exactly.
Systemic. And of course, we'd all like to think that we're wonderful people, but we have to be able to speak to each other in honest and real ways. And we're not trained to do that.
No, we're not.
Are we? We're not even trained to have meaningful conversations with our own families.
Exactly.
And at work and then beyond. So how do we improve a conversation? How do we improve this conversation and work on it?
I think the first step would be people expressing a willingness to listen to other people. So when it comes to listening is an active process.
Okay.
It's a little bit different from hearing. We can all hear. It's that's the physical act of receiving a message and just perceiving it through your auditory system. Whereas with listening, you're paying very close attention to what someone else is saying, and you're processing what they're saying without trying to come up with a response before they finish their comment, or you're not preoccupied with what you want to say in response to what they have said. So I think that we need to really be open to listening to each other and having a commitment to learning from each other, and then becoming better people as a result of it. So if I'm talking with someone who is a white female, so let's say that you and I are having a casual conversation, I can share with you my experiences with racism, and by me sharing those with you, we might have a lot of commonalities, and maybe not, but whatever they are, you're able to hopefully listen and think, oh wow, okay, so that's her experience, it's very different from mine. And then you may share experiences with me that may be related to class or your educational background, or something that's an experience that I can't relate to. And by me hearing that, I might think, oh, okay, well that informs my worldview, and ultimately, hopefully, we're able to make things common between us, but also move forward and recognize that we have differences, and differences are good, and this is what we can do in order to improve race relations.
You know, the nice thing about a book like Americana is we can all work our way through the characters in the book, and it goes back to walk a mile in someone else's shoes and take that time. And in a book, you're not waiting to like, but wait, it's my turn to talk. Everybody gets their say in the book, and we're actively reading. That gives us that experience. So it can be a transformative thing. So you've been studying this for about 20 years or more.
Longer.
That's right. People thought this was so important that they created an endowed chair at LSU, and that's a big deal. What are your goals as the first professor in this endowed seat?
My goal is to, well, first of all, I want to say how excited I am about being here in Baton Rouge, being at LSU. I was at the University of Georgia for 21 years, and I was approached about applying, and I said, sure, why not? I had not thought about leaving at all, and then once I was invited to come to campus for an interview, I just thought, wow, I'm about to leave UGA. It was big. My family's from Georgia. I came here by myself with my dog, and I was just ready, I think, for a big change in my career. There's so many benefits that are coming with this endowment, and the first and the primary one for me, is the opportunity to make a difference in a community. I didn't have resources at the University of Georgia to go out into the community to really understand what people's perceptions are about race, their understandings of them, of it rather, and how are people really communicating about these racial issues? What are the racial issues that are going on in the community? And so right now, as a matter of fact, beginning on Saturday, my research team and I are going to begin focus groups. So we're going to interview African Americans in the community to find out, what is going on, and then get some suggestions on, how they think racial healing can come about.
Okay.
And we'll also be interviewing students from LSU. So we're going to start out interviewing African Americans, as I've already mentioned, community members, students at LSU, and we're also going to interview students at Southern.
Good.
Because I believe there are tensions between the schools.
Yes, there are.
I don't know anything about Baton Rouge. I'm learning slowly but surely, but it seems like there are a lot of racial issues that are going on, but this is not uncommon to other parts of the country. And yes, I'm an expert, but I want to bring people together so we can have healthy conversations.
Great. And move the community forward.
Yeah, and we'll use the information/data, from these focus groups to have a lecture series or dialogue series where people are coming together to talk about these issues and then come up with sustainable programs that go beyond just that series.
Well, you can always do those at the library, remember.
We already have our reservations.
Excellent,
so yes.
Excellent. We're so appreciative that you're going to be part of our One Book, One Community series, and then I think we'll be seeing a lot more of you. So set your calendars for Friday, March 13th at 6 p.m. at the main library to come hear more